What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nash here, welcome back to the channel, and today I have a very insane deck profile for you guys today. It is a Utopia deck profile. I never thought I would ever be building this deck, but I do want to give a shout out to my homie on Twitter, Shadow Realm Yu-Gi-Oh. If you guys have not checked him out, definitely check him out. I believe his Twitter is @RealmYGO. So make sure you guys check him out. He's incredible. He has his own YouTube video, his own YouTube channel called Shadow Realm. Definitely check him out. He was the one that actually came up with this deck, but you guys know I always like to put my own spin on things. So I did take some stuff out. I added some additional cards just because of the fact that some of the cards that were in the initial version that were in his version, in my opinion, I feel like that they were bricks. So I did take them out. I put some of the cards into the side, put some cards into the main, and did a little revising. And I have to admit, this is a pretty bomb-ass deck. So without any further ado, let's get straight into it. And if you guys enjoy this video and you guys want to see more deck profiles in the future, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, smash the thumbs up button, and check me out on Twitter and Instagram. Links are down in the description. So without any further ado, let's get straight into it. First up, we have the Zexal weapons. Now I'm only running 4 different ones. I am running Zexal weapon, Tornado Bringer, Lightning Blade, Sleipnir Mail, and Azora Strike. Each of these has the same first effect, where it says you can target one Utopia monster you control, equip this monster from your hand, or face from your hand. Actually, Tornado Bringer. Actually, Tornado Bringer is basically okay, yeah. Sorry guys, I got a little confused there. Yeah, but all 4 of them have the same first effect, where it says you can target one Utopia monster you control, equip this card from your hand, or face up field to that target. The only difference is that Tornado Bringer gives that Utopia monster an additional 1,300. Lightning Blade gives it 1,200, and then Sleipnir Mail and Azora Strike gives it 1,000. Tornado Bringer, but each of these has a different effect. Tornado Bringer says, while this card is equipped to a monster, your opponent cannot target that monster with card effects. If a monster equipped this card would be destroyed by battle, destroy this card instead. You can only control one Zexal weapon, Tornado Bringer. Lightning Blade says while this card is equipped to a monster, face-up Zexal weapon cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. If a monster equipped this card would be destroyed by a card effect, destroy this card instead. You can only control one Lightning Blade. And then with Sleipnir Mail, it says, when this card you control is sent to your grave because the equipped monster was destroyed by your opponent's card by battle or card effect, you can target one Utopia monster in your grave, special summon that target. You can only control one Sleipnir Mail. So with this one, it's more so of a Monster Reborn of sorts, which actually is really good. I was planning on putting Monster Reborn into the main, or the side, but I was like, nah, there's really no point because there's so much because you can actually just recycle the cards back onto the field, into the main, or into the extra deck off of the effects of cards like Sleipnir Mail and Utopia Ray V, which is really cool. Which is really cool. And then Azora Strike has a much more unique effect, where it says while this card is equipped to a monster, that monster can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. So if your opponent, so if this card were to be equipped to say Utopia Ray V, and it becomes a 3600 body, you're basically able to outshine pretty much most of your opponent's board. But it all depends on what their board state is. That's the only difference. It just depends. But these are the only 4 Zexal weapons that I decided to run, just because of the fact that each of these are so unique. Obviously, with Tornado Bringer, you're able to protect. You're able to protect the equipped Utopia monster from card effects. And of course, with Lightning Blade, you're able to protect it from being destroyed by card effects, which is really cool. So if you were to combine these two together, essentially the monster that you equip these two to can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects, which is really cool. And then again, as I said, as I said with Sleep Never Mail, it's basically a monster reborn of sorts. And then with a Sword Strike, it's basically a board wipe, which is really cool. Moving on into the other monsters. First up, we have Zubaba Bancho Gagaga Coat. Yes, I know it's weird saying it because I sound like a kid saying that, but it is what it is. Only 2 copies. What's cool about this card is its effect, because the effect reads: if you control a Zubaba Gagaga monster, except this card, while this card is in your hand, you can special summon this card. So if you control, like, if you have, say Dodo Dwarf Go Glove, you can actually summon Coat from your hands, because it counts as a because it actually counts as because it actually does it count? I think it does. I believe it does if I'm right on that. But its other effect says you can target one Go or Dodo monster in your grave, special summon it. So it's like a monster reborn of sorts. So it's basically a Cyber Dragon monster reborn, with the catch that you cannot summon monsters from the extra deck except Xyz monsters, which is ironic, because the extra deck is nothing but Xyz monsters, which is really cool. So it's a Cyber Dragon monster reborn rolled into one. Next up, we have 3 copies of Utopic Automatopoeia. This is actually a really bomb-ass. This is a bomb-ass card, because it says this card is always treated as a Zubaba, Gagaga, Go, and Dodo card. So this pairs perfectly with Gagaga Ko, because if you have Onomatopoeia on the field, you can just summon this right off the bat, which is really cool. So I thought it would work with Glove, but I realized it did not. It would only work with the Utopic Onomatopoeia. But this card's really cool, because it says during your main phase you can special summon up to 1 each Zubaba, Gagaga, Go, and or Dodo monster or monsters from your hand in defense position, except this card. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck, except Xyz monsters, and it's a once per turn. So being able to summon out, like, what, maybe 2 Xyz monsters during that turn, that's pretty good. But another thing too that boggles my mind is the fact that is how good this card really is. People, when I believe this was released in Dual Power, if I remember correctly, either Dual Power or Dual Overload. I think it was Dual Power. But once the card got released, everybody kept saying, "Oh, this card's no good. This card's no good." But once we got the new Utopia support in Lightning Overdrive, and even also in the Utopia Structure deck, which we're supposed to get sometime this year, either this year or next year. I don't remember when. I think it's supposed to be this year. People realized this card's actually pretty good, because you're summoning multiple monsters in a turn, and you're summoning out your Xyz monsters, which would also force bait your opponent to activate cards like Imperm and Solemn Judgment, which would not only negate that Utopia monster's card effect, but if they were to activate Solemn Judgment, it's a bait. It's a bait, and you'll easily be allowed to go into your plates even more often than you would think. So this card is actually really good. Next up, we have the Zexal Servants. Is the proper term? ZS Zexal Servants Ascended Sage, 3 copies of that, and 3 copies of Armed Sage. These two are really cool because with Ascended Sage, its effect reads: if you control no cards, you can special summon this card from your hand. A Utopia Xyz monster that was summoned using this card on the field as material gains this effect. If this card is Xyz summoned, you can add 1 rank up magic normal spell from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. Armed Sage has the effect where it says if the only monster you control is a level 4 monster that is not named to this card, you can special summon this card from your hand. A Utopia Xyz monster that was summoned using this card on the field's material gains this effect. If this card is Xyz summoned, you can add 1 Zexal weapon from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. So what's cool about these two is that you can just automatically Sidra. You can just automatically Sidra the Ascended Sage from your hand, activate Armed Sage's effect, and Sidra this card. And by Sidra I mean Cyber Dragon, because they have the effect of Cyber Dragon, of course. So you basically, again you would basically Sidra the Ascended Sage, activate Armed Sage's effect to Sidra this card, overlay these two into a Utopia into Utopia double, which would then give you not 1, not 2, but 3 different effects. The first one would obviously be Ascended Sage's effect, where you can add a rank up normal spell from your deck to your hand. And Tribute I'm running 4, which I'll get to those in a second. Armed Sage's effect would give you a Zexal weapon from your hand, and then Utopia double would not only give you double or nothing to your hand, but you would also go into Utopia. You could also go into Utopia, and it would gain, and its attack points, and its attack would be doubled to 5,000. You attack, detach a material, stop the attack. Double or nothing triggers, and if it were to be negated, which most likely it will, then you would go to main phase 2, activate a card like, say Numeron Force, and then rank it up into Utopia Ray V, activate Ray V's effect, detach a material, and deal damage to your opponent that way. So just that combo alone. That combo alone could really take you far, depending on how you go about. It all just depends on your opening hand, because this is a blind go second. People are probably gonna comment saying, "Is this what style is this? Is this going first, going second?" Going first, you're not really gonna do a whole lot. Maybe just I would estimate just summon Utopia double, go into Utopia step pass. That's it. That is it. But if you go second and you get that 6th card, you could do something. But that's pretty much it. Just a combo like that could really take you far. Next up, we have 2 copies of Dodoro Dwarf Go Glove. So this effect is kind of funny because it says during your main phase you can special summon 1 Zubaba or Gaga monster from your hand. If you control a Go or Dodoro monster except this card, while the card is in your grave, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect once per turn. So not only is it a Cyber So not only can you side draw one of your monsters, meaning hello Utopia Onomatopoeia, hello, you could do that, and then reborn this card from your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. Wait, it says that? Oh wow. Yeah, you can actually bypass that. How? By using it as Xyz material. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. That's what you do. You use the monster as Xyz material, bypass the effect, and when you detach the material, it doesn't get banished. It goes to the graveyard. You're able to bypass it with that by using it as the material, which is really cool. Next up, we have 2 copies of Utopic Astral Hope. This is, I believe, one of the new ones that is coming out in, I believe, the Structure deck, if I remember correctly. But I don't think I ever talked about. I don't think I ever talked about this card in any of my videos. But it's a 4-star light warrior with 0 attack and defense. And its effect reads, if an Xyz monster is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. So that effect right there, again, is basically another form of Cyber Dragon, which is really good. You can send one other card from your hand or field to the grave, add 1 Xyz, Automat, Zexal, or number spell or trap from your deck to your hand. And you can only use each effect once per turn. So you can add cards like Zexal Construction, Automata Pickup, Numbers Protect, Automata Para, Utopic or I would say Utopic Onomatopoeia, but you really can't. But yeah, basically you can add any of those to your hand, and you can just go ahead and use them right off the bat, which is really cool. Plus, again, it's more fodder to go into your rank 4 plays as well, which is really cool. And then to round out the monsters, we have 2 copies of Astral Kuribo, which again is another card that I did not talk about on the channel. But it's a 1-star light fiend with 100 attack and defense, and its effect reads: you can reveal 1 number Xyz monster in your action deck, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, its level becomes equal to the revealed monster's rank. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the action deck except number Xyz monsters. So obviously there's quite a few. There's quite a few number Xyz monsters in the extra deck. So you're not. So it's pretty. You're pretty much golden at this point. Except number Xyz monsters while this card is face up in the monster zone. You can only use this effect of Astral Kuribo once per turn. A number monster that was Xyz summoned using this card on the field as material gains this effect. This card cannot be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effects. Yeah. So this card is kind of similar to what's that one? I'm trying to think. Oh, it's the one that I'm using in my Dark World deck, which I do need to update completely. I'm trying to think. Morph King Stigigel. That's what I was thinking of. It's kind of similar to Morph King Stigigel, where the monster becomes the same level as another monster on the field. This one is more so with the extra deck. So it's a pretty good effect. Being able to use this again, being able to use this card as fodder for your rank 4 plays is just really good. There are so many ways you can go into your Xyz monsters. It's just too good. It is just too good. So that is pretty much it for the monster lineup. Moving on into the spells. First up, we have 3 copies of Automata Para. This card is really cool because it says that you can only activate 1 Automata Para per turn. Send 1 card from your hand to the grave. Add up to 2 of these monsters from your deck to your hand, and you cannot add 2 of the same category. Zubaba, Gaga, Go, Do. Yes, I know you're gonna roast me in the comments saying that I'm acting like a child. That's how the cards were named. Just saying. But this is basically your Rhoda. This is basically one of your Rhodas of the deck. So I believe you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Seven. You basically have like 7, at least 8. At least 8 different Rhodas in the main, which also includes Rhoda itself. So you are running. So you are running the 1 reinforcement of the army, which is really cool. You just add a warrior from the deck to the hand. Harpy's Feather Duster, being able to just blow away your opponent's back row is really good. You want to try and maximize. You want to try and maximize ensuring that your opponent has no back row, so you can go into your plays as quickly as you can. Now moving on into the rank up spells, and you're gonna probably you guys are probably gonna ask yourselves, why am I running these cards? I am running one each of Limited Variance Force, Zexal Force, Numeron Force, and Hyper Hope Force. You're wondering why. Well, there are actually several cards, several Xyz monsters that you can go to with those cards. You can go into you can actually go into Utopia Beyond, Utopia Dragoner, Utopia Ray V, Leo Utopia Ray, as well as Utopic Draco Future as well. You can actually use I believe you can use the rank ups to go into it, but I'm not so sure. I never really figured that one out, honestly. But yeah, so there are several cards you can go to with these cards with the rank ups. Again, Dragna, Beyond, Ray V, Leo Ray, so many others. That's pretty much it. But each of the rank ups has its own effect. So with Limited Variance Force, it says target 1 rank 4 Xyz monster you control, special summon from your extra deck a number of Xyz monster that's 1 rank higher than the one you have by using it as the material. By using it as the material, in which case Utopia into Utopia Ray, into Utopia Ray V, or into Utopia, or into Leo, or into Leo Ray as well, which is really cool. Zexal Force is basically a Utopia or Zexal weapon Xyz monster, summoning one that's a rank higher than the one you have on the field. So I'll read off Zexal Force's effect just so you guys can get an idea of what I'm talking about. Target 1 Xyz monster you control, special summon from your extra deck 1 Utopia or Zexal weapon monster that is a rank higher than that monster you control by using it as material. If you do, take 1 Zexal weapon or Zexal servant monster from your deck, place it on top of your deck. This is treated as an Xyz monster, transfers materials to the summoned monster. If your opponent's life points are at least 2,000 higher than yours, you can banish the card from your grave, draw 1 card. So not only are you able to summon out so not only are you able to go into go into Utopia Beyond or whatnot, but you can also just again Rhoda or semi-Rhoda one of your monsters, put it on top of the deck, so that's another form of Rhoda that you can go into, and you're able to draw 1 card by banishing this card from your graveyard, which would give you the monster that you place on top of your deck. Numeron Forces is basically a way to not only summon out another Xyz monster, but also be able to just negate all cards that your opponent has on the field, which is really cool. And then Hope Force is kind of a cool one. So its effect reads: target a rank 9 or lower Xyz monster you control, special summon from your extra deck a rank 10 or higher Utopia or Utopia Xyz monster by using the monster you control as material, which is treated as an Xyz summon. If an Xyz monster or monster is special summoned by a rank 10 or higher Utopia or Utopia Xyz monster's effect, while this card is in your grave, except during the damage stab, you can target one of those summoned monsters, attach this card to it as material. You can only use each effect once per turn. So you're basically able to go into Utopic Dragoner, which I believe is a 10, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, it is not. So I believe, yeah. So I believe Draco Future. Yeah. Basically, you can actually, I'm not so sure about that one. That's kind of a funny one. You could go into Dragoner, but it's kind of okay, yeah, I thought so. So basically, so it said rank 10 or higher. Yeah, so basically you can go into Dragoner, go into Dragoner and be able to just attack for game, which is really cool. So those are the 4 rank ups that I'm running. I'm also running 3 copies of Zexal Construction, which is basically the searcher for the whole deck itself, where you can reveal a card in your hand and add one of the following cards that's listed in its text from your deck to your hand, and then shuffle the reveal card back into the deck. So basically, what you do is you activate this, you reveal, I'll say Rhoda, for example. You reveal the Rhoda, and you can either add a Zexal weapon monster, a Zexal servant monster, a Zexal spell or trap, a rank up spell, or a rank down spell. And then you add one of those cards to your hand, and then Rhoda goes back into the deck, shuffled, which is really cool. Next up, we have the one called by the grave. You want to try and make sure your plays go through. So definitely recommend using Call by the Grave. I don't know why this card is at 1. It should have been limited to 2. I would have been so content with 2, but at 1, really. I guess Konami loves hand traps, I guess. Who knows? Next up, we have Double or Nothing, again for the Utopia double plays. Xyz change taxes. This is basically your sort of like your pot of greed of sorts for the deck, where every time you summon a Utopia Xyz monster, you get to pay 5. You get to pay 500 life points and draw a card, which is kind of bad, especially if your life points are low. But you can always just like say, you know what, I'm not even gonna do it. I'm not gonna draw the card. I don't need to draw the card. So, and then to round out the spells, we have 2 copies of Automata Pickup, which is really cool. This is a cool one because it's a continuous spell that reads when this card is activated, you can add 1 Automata card from your deck to your hand, which obviously Automata Para, of course. Except this card, you can target one Zubaba, Gagaga, Go-Go, or Dododo monster you control. All monsters you currently control become that monster's level until the end of the turn. Even if the card leaves the field, you can only use this effect once per turn. You can only activate 1 automatic pickup per turn. So it's basically a way to basically with this card, it's another way that you can ensure that you go into your rank 4 place and then go into your rank 5, 6, and higher place, which is really cool. And then moving on into the traps, there's only 5 in the deck. There were some cards that I wanted to put in. I just didn't have enough room to put them in. One of the big cards that I wanted to put in was a old card called Zing Zang Hu, which is an old card, but it's a really good board wipe. It's a really good floodgate because the card read. I'm actually gonna look it up here. So Zing Zang Hu was a card released in Rise of Destiny, which is kind of funny. And it reads: activate by selecting 2 set spell or trap cards on the field. The selected spell or traps cannot be activated. So if your opponent does have two set cards in their back row, they can't activate them. I wanted to implement that card, but I didn't really know where to put it, whether to put it in the main or the side. I didn't have any room, which is kind of unfortunate. But eventually, I will do an update on this, and I'll definitely try to implement that card into the deck at some point. But for the traps, we have 2 copies of Infinite Impermanence, which is a negation, of course. 2 copies of Solemn Warning, which is basically another form of negation, and a lone copy of Numbers Protect, which reads when a spell or trap or monster effect is activated while you control a number exceeds monster, negate the activation and destroy that. And if you do, destroy that card. If a number exceeds monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect while this card is in your grave, you can set this card by banishing when it leaves the field. You can only use 1 Numbers Protect effect per turn, only once that turn. So that's why it's only at 1. It's because it's a hard once per turn. There really is no other way to recycle it back unless if you were running, unless if you're going up against, like, I'll say, unless if unless if you're going up against like cybers like a cybers deck or something like that allows you to that allows them to recycle it back into the graveyard. I mean, you could run Ciphering Lord Omega, which is possible, but again, I really don't have any room to implement Omega, which is kind of unfortunate. But moving on into the extra deck, first up we have Utopia. We have Utopia Dragoner, number 99 Utopia Dragoner, which requires 3 or more level 12 monsters, but you can use Hyper Hope Force as a way to summon it. But it says as a quick effect, you can detach 2 materials from this card. Special summon a number monster that has a number between 1 and 100 in its name from your extra deck. This is treated as an Exceed summon. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except it exceeds monsters. And your monsters other than this card cannot attack directly. So, other than Dragoner, no other monster you have on the field can attack directly, which is unfortunate. But still, 3,000 to the face. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. Obviously, during the turn you activate this effect. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you change that opponent's monster's attack to 0. You can only use each effect once per turn. So it's kind of like it's kind of like Wabaku of sorts, where the damage you get dealt is basically to nothing. Basically, it's dealt to nothing. Basically. Next up, we have the 1 Utopia Beyond. This is a really good card because it says if this card is Exceed Summon, the attack of all monsters you currently control, your opponent currently controls becomes 0, which is another form of obviously Wabaku of sorts. Once per turn, as a quick effect, you can detach a material from this card. Then target 1 face-up Exceeds monster you control, and a Utopia monster in your grave. Banish the first target, and special summon the second target, and then gain 1,250 life points, which is basically half of 2,500, which is pretty cool. Next up, we have Utopia Ray V. This card is self-explanatory, but if this card were to be destroyed by a card, by battle, or an effect, you can target one. You can target pretty much any Exceeds monster that's in your grave, and it goes back into the extra deck. But if it has Utopia or a Utopia as the material, it gains the effect where you can detach a material from this card to target a monster your opponent controls, destroy it, and inflict damage to your opponent equal to destroy the monster's attack on the field. So if your opponent's monster has, like, say, I'll say 6,000. Let's just say that. You detach the material, destroy that monster, that your opponent would take 6,000 damage, go into the battle phase, attack for game, GG no rate, hands down, which is really cool. Next up, we have the 1 Utopia the Lightning. Self-explanatory. Don't really need to explain what it does. Leo Utopia Ray. This is another one of the newer ones that I don't think I ever talked about on the channel, but it's a rank 4 Light Warrior Exceeds with 2,500 attack and 2,000 defense, and requires 3 level 5 monsters, and it's always treated as Chaos number 39 Utopia Ray, which I am running in the extra deck. Once per turn, you can detach one material from this card. Equip one Zexal weapon from your deck or extra deck to this card as if it were equipped by that monster's effect. This effect's activation and effect cannot be negated, so not even a card like Solemn Judgment could stop it, which is really cool. Once per turn, while this card is equipped with a Zexal weapon, as a quick effect, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects, and half its attack. Yeah, so it's a Solemn Judgment. So it's basically a protection mixed in with a form of like mixed in with a sort of like an imperm of sorts, which is really cool. Then of course we have Utopia Ray. This is basically fodder to go into Utopia Ray V, or even also Utopia the Lightning, which is possible, which is really cool. 3 copies of Utopia. You gotta have 3 Utopia. If you don't run this card, what the hell are you playing? Seriously. Then of course we have not one but 2 non-utopic monsters. First up, we have Tornado Dragon, which is basically a form of MST in the extra deck, and then of course the one Gaga Cowboy, mainly just to end games. Just to end games, if your opponent's life points is less than 800, you want to use this card to just end the game. GG no Ray. Next up, we have Zexal Servant Utopic Sage, which is a rank 4 Light Warrior Exceeds, 2000 attack, 2500 defense, and requires 2 level 4 monsters. You can attach 2 materials from this card, supposed to summon 1 Zexal weapon or Zexal Servant's monster from your deck. Also, for the rest of the turn, you cannot supposed to summon monsters from the action except Exceeds monsters, nor attack except with number of monsters. You can only use this effect once per turn. If a Utopia or Utopic Exceeds monster or monsters you control whose original attribute is light, other than this card, would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can manage the card from your field or grave instead. So it's basically a protection from everything for your Utopia / Utopic monsters from everything else, which is really, really good. And then of course Utopia Double, I talked about it with Double or Nothing, self-explanatory. Utopic Draco Future. This is a really cool one because it's a Light Warrior Exceeds, which apparently it's always treated as a rank 1, which is really cool. 3000 attack, 2000 defense, 3 Exceeds monsters with the same rank except number monsters, which is pretty nuts. So I believe you can use this card for I don't think you can, but you can use Utopic Future number 0, Utopic Future, as the material, which is really cool. Cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, excuse me, as a quick effect, you can detach 1 material from this card, negate the activation. Then, if that monster is on the field, gain control of it. Not only is it a Solemn Judgment, but it's a brain control as well, which is nuts. Absolutely nuts, especially if it's a card like Borderlord Savage Dragon. Having a second 3000 body on board is just really good. And then Utopic Future, it's just too broken on its own. I don't have to explain what it does. Self-explanatory. But moving on into the side deck, I am running 2 copies of 3 different hand traps, 2 Ash Blossom, 2 Ghost Bell, and 2 Drone Lockbird. Ash Blossom focuses on adding cards from the deck to the hand, kind of like a Rhoda. Special summoning from the deck and sending cards from the deck to the graveyard. Ghost Bell focuses on cards from the graveyard, and Drone Lockbird basically just focuses on adding cards from the main deck to the hand. It just prevents them from happening. And then we have number 38, Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy, and Divine Arsenal AA Zeus Sky Thunder. The reason why I put these into the side is because of the fact that I'm running 3 copies of Waking the Dragon. In fact, you know what? I think what I'm going to do, because truth be told, I actually have Forbidden Droplet in here. I thought about keeping this card, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add Allied Justice Decisive Armor, which would be the second target for Waking the Dragon, and then I'm also going to add, or you know what? Yeah, you know what? I think this is the right way. This is the right move. Yeah. And then I'm going to add Cyber Dragon Infinity, only because of the fact that or you no. You know what? No, I have a better idea. Instead of adding that, I'll add this Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, and the reason why I'm choosing to add Decisive Armor and Red Eyes Dark Dragoon is for a couple reasons. Number one, Dragoon, you don't really need the Red Eyes package to summon Dragoon, because it's awakening the Dragon target, as is also Allied Justice Decisive Armor. And if you're going up against a light deck, Decisive Armor can really come in clutch. But with Hope Harbinger, basically you're able to just attach cards from your opponent to this card as material, and the more materials you have, the more board wipes you'll have for Zeus, which is really cool. And then to round out the whole deck itself, we have 2 copies of Xyz Import and 3 Waking the Dragon. So that is going to do it for this deck profile. I'll be sure to post it on my Instagram, so make sure you guys follow me on Instagram. My links are down. My link is in the description below. And that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel, you guys want more deck profiles in the foreseeable future, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All the links will be down in the description below. And if you guys have any fan mail that you want to send me and want me to open up on the channel, my address will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.